here for another edition of Frontier Pink Bill. Thank you for joining us on the program. I'm Temple Ashaju, Sinomofaye, Executive Editor here at Frontier Africa Reports, right here to give us some analysis. Now let's kick in with the markets and look at the Nigerian stock market, which was up yesterday, 0.89% on Monday. The KRVM Stock Exchange followed suit with a marginal 0.02% gain to open the week. We've got the Cairo Stock Exchange based in Egypt down yesterday by some 2.45% on Monday, while the Nairobi Stock Exchange was also positive by some 0.34% for the same trading session. The Johannesburg Stock Exchange slipped by 1.24%. We now look at the East African markets headlines, where Kenya's got the diaspora remittances up by 19% to $260.2 million in February, compared to what the settlements in February 2020. Brigham Insurance is still to sell the partial stake in mortgage financier HF Group, and of course Port puts proposed takeover of BOC gases by Capacitate on hold. In Uganda, Umeme Limited warns of 60% profit decline for the full year 2020. And in Somalia, you've got Somtel launching an IPO, set issues price at $100 per share. Ethiopian fintech startup RFK raises $3.5 million funding. Let me come to you with these headlines, Paulson. How do you think they'll be traded today?
Temple, I'm excited with some of these numbers, and I'm sure as financial and business journalists, you are also excited about some of these headlines, by the way. And each time I see a couple of good news across the continent, I'm excited that despite the challenges, the business, the market, the business community is making some progress. And that Somalia story strikes me first as one good story that everyone should play up as a media platform on the continent. I think we all should play up that story. What you usually hear about Somalia are those negative stories about the Al-Shabaab, for example, the kidnapping in the country, running across to Kenya, running across to Sudan, the whole insurgency and all of that, kidnappings off the coast of oil vessels and what have you. Also, when you find communication, telecommunications, I think somehow across the continent, we're going to see that telecommunications and ICT communication is very key. And Somalia taking this very important decision is to privatize and do an IPO for that matter, just to go, not even direct listing or listing by introduction, shows you and price the asset. That tells you that you're going to see if investment flows into Somalia. Somalia has a very small stock exchange, which is largely illiquid, very small. But I tell you that once they do this IPO, you will see and list it on the Somalia Stock Exchange itself, or how they'll do a foreign listing, wherever, whether within the East African region or so. You will see how things will move on. I think they should tell the guys in Addis Ababa, the administration, to also speed up on the Ethiotel privatization. They're trying to do a few things there. They don't want the they don't want the weight of Safaricom and others, Vodacom and others from South Africa and elsewhere to swoop in on them. So they're trying to be a little bit careful with it. But the longer they delay it, it's not good for the economy. So that's as far as I'm concerned with Somalia story. I love the Somtel story. I also love the GTBank story, even though it's not on our point, but Kenya is where everybody wants to go as far as banking is concerned. I think a lot of West African banks and North African banks are looking first to Kenya and Rwanda, that corridor, Uganda, Tanzania, as a destination, rather than South Africa. I found that very curious, but maybe that's a conversation for another day, that Kenya seems now to be the gateway. With Kenya, you get a bit of North Africa, you get a bit of the Horn of Africa, and you can go down a little bit towards Southern Africa as well. Even if when you don't get to South Africa, you can go a little bit down and you can do good business within that region. East Africa will be the gateway, the hub for the AFCFTA. And I'll keep saying this for anyone who cares to listen. Look, Kenya will be, they have a very, not a perfect system in the East African community, but they've got a whole thing done that is all going to make it. And that hub, just next door to Addis Ababa in terms of logistics, in terms of so many other things. That is the place to be. So this is going to be another Nigerian bank heading in that direction. I think it's all part of GTB trying to become a new GTBank, becoming a holding company, delist from the Nigerian Stock Exchange, become a private liability, limited liability bank, and now begin to do a whole more massively across the continent. And I think this strategy is what they're looking at. As far as Kenyan remittances are concerned, I say thank you to Kenyans who are in diaspora for keeping the faith. They are one of the most Africans last year, who, despite the pandemic, that spent the most money back to their home country. And we'll say thank you to them that despite the pandemic, they remember homeland Kenya, they remember homeland Africa, and they kept sending money back home. I think it's a good show of faith, and I think we should commend them.
Right then, thanks a great deal for those posts. And let's move on to the Western African headlines, where the Central Bank of Nigeria is going to be having a decision day in terms of rate setting. Now the MPC will be making announcements today. The Infraco PLC formal loan is also on tap. We also have the CBN releasing the list of approved international money transfer operators. That list is quite long. Quite a number of names are found on it. You also have Seplat, which is Seplat PLC listed on Nigerian Stock Exchange, to redeem its entire $350 million notes on April 1st. Ghana holds a policy rate at 14.5% on inflation risks. The Cote d'Ivoire, Bloomfield affirms Nestle rating with stable outlook, and Mali is to pay 6.5% interest rate on the 2020 to 2028 bond loan on March the 27th. Doesn't help us to have some analysis on this as well.
A whole quite a lot of, if you ask me, a whole lot of things happening within the West Africa, and a whole lot of things happening within Nigeria. The Infraco launch today is a news event, not a no event. It shows that the central bank is midwifing this particular arrangement, Infrastructure Corporation. That's what the Infraco PLC means, Infrastructure Corporation PLC. That's a full name, acronym kind of shortening it to Infraco PLC, with NSIA and Africa Finance Corporation on the team. I think they are good to go. They've made advertisements in international media for CEO and MD from the private sector who will run it. This is one good. Mr. President of Nigeria has said, go ahead and get it done. Get us the international private sector support that can, and including local ones, that will help us to get some of our infrastructure done. It's taking some time for coming in the day. Well, better pass later late than never. 6 years ago when the administration came in, perhaps some of the decisions could have taken with the administration thinking that they could do it all alone in a manner of speaking. So Infraco PLC on the table, and executive order number 7 on the table, which has to do with tax credit for infrastructure funding, in which you can take your tax credit and you can list it on the FMDQ Securities Exchange, and it becomes a tradable instrument. I think the administration is beginning to become a born again when it comes to look. You need this close collaboration with the private sector, not just by word, but in deed as well. So this will be a good one. Interest rate decision today, the consensus is that the MPC will leave rates unchanged. So let's keep our eyes and ears open until 2 o'clock in the afternoon for the ritual communique briefing. As far as Mali is concerned, 6.5% looks like, well, what they need to just pay to get this bond cleared later this week on the 27th. 6.5%, if you look at the rate right now, at each Ghana is trying to do a 5-year bond, it's around double digits, as it were. Pricing is still out there. You have to be like the AFDB to be able to do bonds raising at about 0.875, which the AFDB is doing the 2.5 billion, which was announced a few days ago towards the end of last week. So for Mali, it's all part of everybody looking right and center at what they can get without necessarily going to the IMF and the World Bank. Can they go for private sector credit, a loan, whatever, to get the economy running? Mali is very rich in cotton exports. If you care to know, it's also one of the largest deposits of gold in the world. So keep that in mind as well. So you need to see that this country, Mali is looking to be very competitive. Again, it's going to be a whole lot better with the AFCFTA. So everyone is looking for money to position this economy for what is coming ahead. Ghana keeping its interest rate unchanged. I think that's what the consensus was a bit from Bloomberg, that many of the African economies, central banks will keep rates unchanged, at least for now. I was seeing that in Ghana right now. We saw that in Mozambique last week, and Ghana followed yesterday. We think Nigeria will follow today. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Bosun. This leads us to the Southern African space, where South Africa concludes sale of AstraZeneca vaccines. Implats okays interim cash dividend of 1,000 cents per ordinary share. Botswana's got the bank ABC seeing 2020 pre-tax profit between 12% and 22% lower. Zimbabwe-Rwanda signed 5 cooperative agreements, and Malawi begins probe of foreign business without license to trade in that country. Bosun?
Yeah, the Implats story is the fact that this is a mining company. The news from the banks for 2020 were not as good as for the rest of it. Last year, the platinum, the gold, the aluminum companies, the copper guys make money. Glencore, the Anglo-American, Anglo-Gold Ashanti, Goldfields. These were the big guys last year because central banks were ramping up, building up their gold reserves. Everybody was buying gold fast and furious, try to manage the problem of the economic recession globally. Then you find the platinum with China remaining the dragon that it is, and keep sucking up on copper, sucking up on platinum and aluminum and all of that. So to that extent, Implats can afford to pay 1,000 cents a share for dividend. But look at the RMB, for example, Rand Merchant Bank, Investec, and the rest of them. The APSA, they're not reporting very fantastic numbers. Take it all the way up to Kenya, the story is almost the same. Go to North Africa, the story is almost all the same with the banking sector. So we understand. So these are the guys in mining who are the king right now. So give it to them. It's their time. Let them have their moment in the sun. But I'm also interested in one story, if you give me 1 minute, about the Zimbabwe and Rwanda 5 cooperative agreement. Again, look, we need to see what this guy between East and Southern Africa are doing. We're not doing much in West Africa here, and I'm seriously saddened by the fact that I'm not seeing this fast and furious relationship between Nigeria and Togo, signing an agreement with Cote d'Ivoire, signing with Ghana, with Senegal, with Sierra Leone, but Gambia, all the way down.
Would that be as a result of the language barrier that we have in West Africa?
Historically speaking, these guys within COMESA, between the Common Market for East and Southern Africa, had always behaved like they're one. Again, I say, you see, there's a bit of a language and cultural affinity between them, by the way. So you see some language like the Swahili and the rest of them. If you understand Rwanda, you can get a bit of that. So I think language is one thing, but over time, I think they've been a little bit more cohesive in the manner of speaking than the rest of us in West Africa. Look, ECOWAS is one of the, I think it's the oldest common market for economy in the whole of Africa, and it hadn't moved the needle 40, 45 years down the line. It hasn't really been that force for economic cohesion. But again, you can't be too far from the truth temple if you look at Nigeria surrounded by 5 French-speaking countries. So with the power of France or Elsie Palace across you're talking about, look, it's just a point that things have to change. The West African power pool, for example, hasn't really moved much. You've seen the East African power pool, well, maybe a few notches better than the Southern African power pool, which was to be a common energy electricity project for the region. But I hope the AFCFTA will force us to become friends and partners, economically, whatever speaking, so that we can all do a lot better. We can compete to cooperate. West Africa needs to do a whole lot better. But speaking to Zimbabwe and Rwanda, look at Rwanda there, then look at Zimbabwe down there. And if you look at Zimbabwe, you may say, oh, this is a basket case in terms of economy, inflation about 400%, currency, blah, blah, blah. But you see, there are nuggets of good things going on in Zimbabwe that Rwandans are seeing. See, they have started opening up the corridor, okay? They're looking at trade, even on their own, right? So 5 agreements in one single fell swoop tells you that everybody is on the street right now across the continent trying to find friends and partners. And for Federal Republic of Nigeria, I'm sorry, with due respect, I'm in Nigeria, I haven't seen that same spirit, the speed at which we are crossing the borders and trying to network and key into strategic partners in different areas.
Perhaps Nigeria is dealing with its internal structural issues, actually.
Oh, well, Tempo, I guess that's a conversation for another day. Let's just move on.
Okay. So dotting the I's and crossing the T's with the Northern African headlines. Zimbabwe-Rwanda's 2021 Intra-African Trade Fair now set for December 8th to 14th. UK's investment company Actis pumps over $1 billion into Ethiopian markets. And the MSC-listed company's profits declined by 21.8% to 15.4 billion dirhams in 2020, while you have M2M Group reporting a net income deficit of 19.87 million dirhams in 2020. Help us to finish off this headline, post.
Of course, you know the Egyptian story with Actis. So the Actis is this UK vessel. They will go to where the ground is soft. Like I think Ali put it one day, Ali of Rich Frontiers. Ali says, look, investment goes to where the environment is more friendly. Money goes to where investment is less level of friendship. You look friendly, or where it's more sexy, if you allow me to put it that way. So if $1 billion from Actis alone, if you have the CDC group or Actis put $1 billion in Nigerian market, Nigerian economy, you're going to see a whole lot of difference. You'll see a whole lot of things. We'll talk about the job creation and all the numbers that we need to put on. But again, it's not happening for a whole lot of reasons. And we all know this. We don't need to waste more time on that until we undress in public, the way it's speaking, or we go dressed up for the party that is going on out there and try to separate our internal issues, deal with it, and have another team that deals with where we want to go, because the world is not going to wait for you. What will happen is that they will come around and take your lunch. If you're not careful, they take your dinner. So you go all the way hungry over the night. And that's what happens. Nobody's waiting for anybody. So when you look at Morocco, by the way, last year was not really friendly, as it were. So the listed companies on the Morocco stock, which was Casablanca, by the way, down by 21.8%, looking at their reporting season. Tells you how much that market really lost in 2020. But I think yesterday the stock market managed to finish up in yes. So I think there's a whole lot of value in companies that you can still find in Morocco. I think the biggest problem Morocco had is tourism and tourism and tourism. Tourism, travel, hospitality sector was a main drag on an economy such as Morocco.
All right, then, thanks a great deal.
Oh, by the way, Intra-Africa Trade Fair. Yes, I look forward to being in Kigali in December for the second one. You know, the first was held in 2018. It was in Egypt, Cairo. I was there, so I look forward to this particular. I think it was good to move it a little bit to December to allow a little bit more of a vaccine and all of that, so that maybe I need to get my vaccine certificate ready now to qualify to be able to enter Kigali. But I look forward to that. I look forward to it, to the Intra-Africa trade.
All right, thanks a great deal. Boston Wafaya, executive editor here at Frontier Africa, reports for all of these editorial judgments this morning. Appreciate your insight. This has been Frontier Africa for today. I'm Temple Ashaju. I'll see you next time. Bye for now.